Hello and welcome back to the Talking Head podcast, episode 15, or if you want to do it in a more convoluted way, it is season 2, episode 3. It's good to see you here. It's good to have Madalena, finally. Yeah. It's been. We basically talked about having this podcast for about 4 months now. You first contacted me 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Saying, I want to talk about this. And I was like overwhelmed. I was like, we need to talk about this. But I'm so glad we're having it in person. It definitely suits. I'm liking the format. This is my third one I've done in video. To be honest, I'm just happy to have a team. It's really nice. Sort of other people can carry the load a bit. It's nice. But yeah, it's good to be back. And I don't think I have any housekeeping to do, to be honest. I think we've covered it all. I mean, nothing's changed from the last hour that we recorded the last podcast. So nothing's really changed. Madalena, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're on the same course. I should mention that we're both at UCA. And like I said, you messaged me 4 months ago to talk about your experiences. We'll get into that in a second. But until then, what's been the best of your week?
Okay, so 2 days ago, I did the most cute photo shoot with my whole house. A wholesome house.
Yeah.
We went to a park and we looked like the Vampire Diaries set. It was really cute.
And you did like a friend style photo shoot.
A friend style photo
yeah,
shoot.
Shot by this fine man over here, a member of the team, so the best of the best.
They look really good.
Yeah, they do look good. In fact, he shot us doing the Banj photo shoot last night, and I'm yet to fully see it because you said, but I've heard amazing things. So we have got the best of the best here. I've got Julian, of course. We can't forget.
The best.
Yeah, we've got the best of the best and Julian, and Jams. Shout out to Jams who's doing the editing. And then my best is that I've got a shoot tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. Finally, I've done a bit of shooting already, but this is the proper first uni one that I've done, and that'll be nice. I had to do a COVID test today. I'm negative, which is a positive. So, yeah, you can tell I've already done a podcast today, can't you? It's wearing out on me. But let's talk about your experiences, because this is like I said, I've been looking forward to doing this podcast because you've got such an amazing and inspiring story, in my opinion. It's definitely, I don't want to compare, but it's definitely, when I read it, it was a one that it just, I don't know, it got me. It got me. So you sent this, let's give a bit of context. The 6th of August, it's a Thursday. It's
oh my God.
3:14, and you messaged me. But basically, you offer that to come and talk about your issues and talk about being hospitalised for your mental health issues. And I come back at 20 minutes later. That's quite good for me. Usually it's about a 10-hour job, but that's really good. And so I ask you all about it, and so we talk about having a studio. Luckily, we've got a studio now, which is good. And then basically you just come out of it and tell me what it's all about. So if you don't mind, I'll read it out. I've seen it last seen today at 10 past 4 in the morning. Are you awake? Are you?
I don't remember what I said.
No, sorry. Yeah, right, yeah. But okay. So the what you put, is so the whole point of being locked up is to have a fresh start. I have depression, and theoretically I've had it since 3 years of age, basically my whole life. It got to a point in my life where I couldn't be around cars, trains, buses because my body would impulsively throw itself in front of everything that could possibly kill me. A bunch of shit happened and eventually got in. Okay, well, there's a lot to digest from just that first paragraph, right?
I was inspired.
You've had depression since the age of 3.
Yeah.
How does that even... So, this might be naive of me, but, I've never met someone who's technically... So, were you diagnosed at 3 years old, or did you technically... Was it assumed that you just had it?
Like my therapist
Yeah.
had like a meeting with my parents, and they started talking about when I showed symptoms of having depression, and they said when I was 3 years old, and you have like a whole classroom of kids, little kids, I would always be just in the corner, like I would never talk to anyone. So they just like assume that I have it since 3 years old.
Right. That's mental. So what would... I wouldn't even begin to sort of even think that could affect a 3-year-old. Do you know what I mean? Is that not naive of me? Like, thinking that depression...
Oh, I know what happened.
Could... how much do you remember of it when you were that young? I mean,
You don't
not that
remember.
much.
No, because when you have depression, your brain just kind of shuts down, and you don't have any memories. It's like a protection.
It tries to forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, you have that until... I guess it gets a lot worse. It gets worse and worse. Do you remember sort of the first time that you acknowledged it yourself?
Maybe like 13.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but I kind of don't know what it is to like not have depression.
Yeah.
But I've always had it, so.
That's mental. So the fact is you've sort of grown to live with it, rather than sort of it come. So like a lot of people, sort of people's lives usually will be okay. I don't know if we can sort of argue that sort of depression just comes out of the blue, because I don't think it does. But what I'm saying is, you know, you've acknowledged it most of your life, or at least lived with it.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that come about? It from a 3-year-old? Like, how does a 3-year-old gain depression? Is there some sort of science behind that, or is there some sort of...
Yeah, for sure.
What, can you explain it?
Yeah, so I had a sister and she died. Basically, that's
Right,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
How young was she, sorry?
She was the second child, so I was 3 and she was 1.
Right.
And her body just stopped working. It didn't have like a specific reason.
So that's very difficult to understand.
That's the most difficult part, because like you don't have a reason to like blame. You don't have something to blame. She just stopped working, which is really weird.
Yeah.
And my parents, like, they both went into this huge, deep depression, and they forgot they were parents. Like, I grew up all alone, because my parents were in deep shit.
Right.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine sort of would have had an influence on you, but like, I mean, you would have been 3. You wouldn't have remembered your sister. Do you remember your sister?
I have this one specific memory. I don't know why. It was in my old house, because we changed after she died. Of course, we wouldn't live there.
Yeah.
And I remember my mother was like ironing the clothes, and we were in the couch in front of the TV, and I was in my father's lap, and I remember him telling me, I don't know why, it's just like this specific memory, and yeah, that's it.
Wow.
But I can see in my mind like the colors, the old house, I remember it all.
Really?
Yeah, and I was
that's
3
the only
years
thing.
old.
Wow. Do you cherish that memory, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I like it. I like it because my old house has a lot of meaning. Like I shared the room with her, and yeah. But I get why we moved, because it would be really heavy for my parents. Like the air
100%.
would be really heavy for him. But we moved in the same neighborhood, so we still live next to the building, but it's just a different one.
Oh, really? So you're quite close?
Yeah, and we know the people who live there, and we don't like them.
Oh, really? Fair enough. Fair enough. I suppose if you did like them, you probably wouldn't want to go around anyway. So it's probably worked out in that way. So, all right, okay. So that's where you think it started from, potentially an influence from your parents.
Yeah.
Sort of feeling that way, you've sort of developed that sort of. I think when you're young, you adopt your own parents' mannerisms and own attitudes. So at that young age, you're very likely to be influenced, and so it probably naturally has happened. So you from 3, okay. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Sorry. Can I go like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
Sorry.
It's all right. No worries.
Right in the middle.
That's fine. So yeah, so you get it diagnosed when you're 13.
No.
Oh right, is that when you realise yourself?
Yeah, I was in the hospital when I was 18, And in that meeting with my therapist and my parents, we all like talked about my symptoms and how I like grew up, and we all realized that I've had it since 3 or 4.
Right.
But I felt it when I was 13, but I was only diagnosed at 18. Yeah.
I suppose you probably wouldn't have been thinking about it, really.
Oh, no,
If you
it
think
was
it's
all-
like the normal,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't have really even thought anything about it.
Yeah.
Which is sort of terrifying, really. So you obviously 13 sort of realised that it's a thing. Did you do anything then when you realised that you had depression?
I was an emo kid.
Oh right, okay. So you just embraced it.
Yep.
Yeah, just listened to sadness.
Bring me the
You're a big
everything.
is it Cure?
The Cure,
You're
yeah.
a big Cure fan.
But the Cure is like happy.
It is, but it's still quite emo-y.
Yeah.
Still quite, there. So you just embraced it then?
I had blue hair, pink hair, green hair.
Every hair colour. Yeah.
Every
Fair
hair.
enough. That's mad. So did your have your how are your parents?
It was really bad. I had a really bad relationship with them because they hated the fact that I had depression because they knew it was their fault. Like it's not their fault, but that's what you feel when you're a parent, Like, oh, I raised my kid the wrong way. But like I think I have depression because I raised my parents. I was the parents and they were the child.
Yeah.
And that's the like huge problem with me is that I raised my parents because they were in depression. They didn't know how to be parents, so I kind of assumed that we're all.
Are they all right now?
Nah.
No.
No. But after the hospital, we kind of like got better.
Rebonded. You said so. I actually read this before the podcast, and you did actually mention that. So we'll get onto that. But so this is a really. I mean, there's so much obviously to digest in this, but you did mention it got to a point where you couldn't be around cars/trains/buses because your body would want to impulsively throw itself in front of it.
Yeah, that was really scary.
How old were you when that happened? Sorry.
Around like 16. It
So-
was like 5 years of that.
Right. Okay, 5 years.
Yeah, but it was a specific year, I think 17, where I spent the whole year without looking at mirrors because I couldn't. Even like my reflection in a car, it would make me like cry.
Is that because of your body image? You don't like the way you look, or
Because I just hated myself. So
Hated
like,
yourself?
If I saw even my shadow, I would.
why did you hate yourself?
Hmm?
Why did you hate yourself?
I don't know. That's what depression does to you.
Just hate yourself. You didn't want to. Were you blaming yourself for anything, or?
Kind of, but well, technically, scientifically, when you have depression, your brain doesn't have the ability to produce the chemicals that make you happy.
Right.
So like, you really don't know what happy is.
Okay.
That's why you have to take all those pills that are awful because it just make you sleep.
So did you take pills then?
I tried it, but I couldn't even open my eyes, and I was at school.
Really?
It was really bad, yeah. So I had them for like a year, and then I gave up. And I didn't tell anyone, but no one noticed. So.
Oh right. Okay. So you got away with it. So you're 17. Actually, no. I'll get to that. I want to talk about your mirrors. Not even being able to look at yourself. That must become quite difficult because I know you obviously don't go around looking for mirrors, but I suppose you probably would. You'd go around seeing if you could see a reflection of yourself.
Yeah,
And you'd probably actively go out your own way to avoid being in mirrors, or even would you actively go out your way to not be in mirrors or not to look in the mirrors, or both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because cars, when you're in a mall, like they have huge mirrors everywhere. Yeah.
So your
It's
head
kind
would
of
just be
impossible.
down, right? Just not
Yeah.
really.
And I would be like always anxious because if I look right or left, I can see myself.
Yeah. That's mental.
Yeah.
So, I mean, can you drive?
Yeah, I love driving.
Okay. So how do you manage that?
I actually only finished my driver's lessons 3 years later.
Oh
'Cause
right.
I tried it when I was 18, and then I only finished it like 2 months ago.
Right.
So
Okay.
I had to wait.
Yeah.
Now I'm good at it.
Okay. Well, that's good. So let's talk about that in between then. So I'll actually read out what you put. Um, what you've said is you eventually got in. Do you want to explain what you got into for anybody that wouldn't know?
Oh, the mental hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I basically, like, I knew that I was going to kill myself. Like, I knew that. And I knew that I was going to hurt. It was basically for my dog. That's why I love my dog so much, because he was the only reason I, like, didn't kill myself.
Really? Why was that?
Yeah. Because he waits for me every night. And now I'm here in England, and I know that he, like, goes to my room and
Yeah.
sees if I'm there and go, like, smell. He pees in my bed.
Yeah, similar thing happens
This
to
is,
me.
like,
Yeah,
my
apparently
owner is here.
my dog goes into my room quite a bit. In fact, they've had to block it off now.
Yeah.
Because he did it anyway, but he'd always wake me up every morning, and now obviously I'm not there. Apparently he's been trying to sleep in my room. For some reason he doesn't pee in my bed. He decides to lick it.
Yeah, that's the same.
Which is probably still quite gross. Probably why I get acne come up sometimes, to be honest. But yeah. So you didn't do it because of your dog. That is,
Yeah.
I mean, if there's
But
any reason
wait,
why
wait,
dogs
wait.
are the best animals,
Yeah.
do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
the
What
best
breed have you got?
animals.
Sorry,
He doesn't have one.
doesn't have a breed.
He's like a mixture of this dog that we have in our neighborhood, and he just fucks every dog he sees. So my dog is like one of those babies.
I was expecting a really wholesome breed, but that was great. That was much better. So he just fucked every. Wow, what a player!
He's like a neighborhood dog. Everyone knows him. He's always everywhere in coffee shops, everywhere.
So the Hugh Hefner of the town. Yeah, fair enough. All right, okay. So, but you don't want to do that because your dog wouldn't see you again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
He would just be waiting and I would never come back. So that would really, really hurt me. But then I was coming to this edge. So I spoke to my therapist at school. Those shitty therapists that you have at school. But he was actually pretty good. And I asked him, like, if I go to a hospital, can I have my classes later, like everything that I missed, all the tests, exams? He said, yes, you can go to the hospital and then come back and do everything. You wouldn't be, like, left behind.
Right.
But I still tried it. It was at the Christmas morning, and my parents were at the mall, and they were like picking gifts for everyone. And then they called my brother, and they were like, "What does your sister want for Christmas?" And then when he came to ask me, I was like hanging myself. So he saved me. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What
For
was
Christmas.
he 17?
No, he's 16 now. He's turning 17 in a month. So he was.
So how old were you? Sorry.
I was 18.
18. Right. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. I imagine at that point it was quite soon after you obviously got that help.
Mhm. Yeah, and then they called the ambulance, and then I went to the hospital. And I have a really funny story because
Funny story.
When I
Where's the
went at the
funny story in
ambulance-
this? Go on.
I was in 2 ambulances. The first one, the driver was just like swearing at everyone in the highway. He was like, "Fuck off, get out of the way!" All the cars, he was just like screaming through the window, and I was like almost dead but laughing at the same time.
So
And
that's right. Okay.
And then I went to hospital like a normal one. And they called the mental hospital. They asked if they had like any bed for me because normally they're like full, but they made it happen. And so I went into the second one, and I wasn't alone. There was like a kid, and I asked him like, "What are you doing here? Are you coming to the hospital with me?" And he was like, "No, I tried to escape, but they got me." So like we just came the whole way talking about how we managed to like get out of the hospital. And he was like, "Oh, if you ever want to do it, you can do it with me because I know how to live this place." And it was really funny.
Right. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, first of all, that is such. I mean, that must really. I know it would be nothing, but like, genuinely, your brother, like,
Oh, yeah.
is your brother like still sort of scarred from that?
You
'Cause that's a
will be
terrifying
yeah.
experience. I imagine. So he saved you, right?
Yeah, that's what like out of my whole life, that's what hurts me the most.
Right.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, because I feel like I messed up his brain. When you see your sister hanging with like almost dead, you never forget about that.
I mean, like, Jesus.
But we talked about it because he visited me at the hospital and was like, "Why did you do that?" And we had like this huge conversation of me like explaining to him how I felt and how I've been feeling my whole life. So like he got it, and he got why I did it.
I wouldn't know what to
So
do
he
if I was
wasn't
in that
there.
situation, I'll be honest. Like, well, obviously I'd know to save them, but like,
Oh, he just screamed at me. He was so mad. He was
really,
like, "You're so stupid!" Like, just like screaming at me. But he wasn't like crying, like, "Oh my God, I would lose you." He was mad.
do you, I mean, do you think, like, I don't want to get too spiritual or things, but like, it's mad, like, if if maybe, like, your parents hadn't rung up your brother, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, no.
You know, it's so, like, thank God they did, but like, oh my God.
I do think that's true. Like, I believe that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And like the exact moment that my parents called my brother, it was the perfect moment. Because if it was like 5 minutes later, I wouldn't be here, you know. So I do believe in the universe and forces and energies.
So, I mean, if you feel comfortable talking about it, like, let's talk about like the minutes before you were deciding that this is what you wanted to do. Like, how does that process go through your mind?
You just numb. You just do it. Like,
Yeah, you don't have it. You had no doubt that you
have
didn't want to do it.
thoughts in your mind. You're just walking. You're just a zombie. You don't have feelings anymore. Nothing.
So so I imagine the only thing you're focused on is the fact that, okay, I've got to do this, and that's it.
I left my house. I like put on a jacket, went to the store, bought a robe, and came home. And like this whole time, I wasn't thinking.
Did you just buy a rope?
Yeah.
They allowed you to just buy a rope?
Yeah.
Was it like a hardware store or something like
It was really cheap.
that?
Not the message of the.
No.
You want to buy a rope, real cheap.
Yeah. We won't name the place where you bought it from. I don't think they would. But like that is. I mean, surely. Were you upset? Were you like when you bought that rope with the intent of knowing what to do with it? Like, were you upset when you were buying it? Were you just focused on like, yeah, buy this, go home, do it? Is that the process?
A robot, yeah.
Jesus. I mean, I'm still baffled that they allowed you to. There should be a rule, right? Or there should be some restrictions.
No, because it's like, you know, Poundland.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Everything is cheap.
Right.
And it's run by this Chinese lady that she doesn't really speak Portuguese. So even if she wanted to like ask me, what are you going to do with
She
this?
couldn't really.
She really, yeah.
Jeez. I mean, I suppose at the time you were were you 17 or 18?
18.
18. So technically, even, I mean, obviously with pot restrictions and something like that, you probably could have still bought it anyway. Yeah. This meant I'm still baffled the fact you can just go into a shop and just buy a rope and then you know.
have a lot of options though. You could just get a knife.
I know, yeah, but like it's like.
I went for the hard way.
Yeah, we won't discuss obviously what ways you can sort of do it.
That's bad.
But like, you know, it's I don't know. It's just the idea of sort of going buying something, bringing it back, and the fact that your brother was there. Thank God. Okay,
Yeah.
right. Let's go on to sort of. So you're in hospital. Were you in hospital for very long?
A month, but that's
Month.
a lot because people only stay at the hospital for like a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was going
That's
to say.
enough.
But so was a lot of that therapy, or was it sort of a because they can't just release you, you know, make sure that you're all right, and then be like, oh yeah, you're on your way. Surely not.
Yeah. No, my therapist, I still have her like to this day.
Mm.
And I did for a year. I did therapy with just her, and then she put me in one of her group therapies that I like loved, and I miss them like every single day. Yeah. So when you get off the hospital, you have 2 options.
Okay.
You can go to those houses. They have like jobs for you. They have beds for you, but it's kind of like a home. But I had my parents, so I chose just like weekly therapy.
Okay. So, how long was it after that until you sort of really got hospitalised or went to this? What would you describe? What's it called? What would you call it? It's a place where you were sort of tucked away, right? You were
Yeah, it's not really
isolated
hospital,
away
yeah.
from everybody else or something. What would you can you just describe what sort of happened and when it did happen to the people?
Yeah. So I got into the hospital and they had to call every mental institution around us, like who had a spot for me, because normally they're always full. But they eventually got into one, and it's crazy because it's known as like the crazy house.
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of like mad people with schizophrenia, like the deep mental problems that you kill people, like schizophrenia, it's really bad. But you go into this building which is divided by age. So I was in the 16 to 25. So you actually go there and you make friends. It's not like you are surrounded by like old people with, yeah, really serious problems. But we did have this woman. She was like 50 something, and she was really bad.
Really?
She was like always asking, "Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter?" Like this is the only phrase she ever said. It was really scary.
Mm.
But it's kind of like you have the girls part and the boys part. It's like divided by this huge hall. Then you have a kitchen, and then you have therapy rooms. Oh, and you have a living room, which is really cool because we all used to like wake up at 7 a.m. and go see like the little how do you call them, the TV shows, but the anime ones, because they were the ones that played at 7 to 9 a.m.
Like cartoons.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had like a couch and we'd all just watch it, and then we'd go for breakfast. And that was the crazy part because everyone hated the pills. So, you know, when you're a doctor and you're like, now you have to take this, like 5 pills. And it was always like 5 people screaming because they didn't want it. They like spit at the floor. It was really scary. But yeah.
That does sound terrifying.
It
I was going to ask you how scary it is, but like, I mean, like, it can't have been too scary, otherwise there'd be no purpose in it. You'd just be like in a horror house.
You end up making connections with everyone.
Yeah. I suppose is it quite tight-knit community? Like, it's quite a small amount of people. Otherwise, it's not a massive group of people all tucked into one small space.
It's like around 15.
So, yeah, it's quite tight-knit, yeah.
And they are all kind of your age.
Right.
So,
apart from the 50-year-old one.
yeah, but she ended up being like moved to another place.
Right, okay. Okay, and how long were you there, sorry?
It was a month.
A month.
But a lot of people, like I have this friend, he was there with me. He was drug use and schizophrenia, because when you do a lot of drugs, your brain kind of gets all messed up. And he'd always come back like after a month, because he would get off the hospital, do drugs again, then come back.
Really?
It was kind of like, I think the hospital was his safe place, which is not really good. It's not supposed to be your safe place.
No. You shouldn't have to fall back on it and be reliant on it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so we'll go back to sort of what you were writing. So you mentioned that you were scared, but it ended up being one of the most important, amazing experiences that you've had. You had a schedule for the day where you'd wake up early as fuck. That's what you put. Eat breakfast, and then the meetings and exercises would start. I learned about meditation and mindfulness, which you put in brackets is not the same. Now, I asked you about this before the podcast because I wanted to talk about it. Again, I'm naive. What's the difference? What's the difference between them two things?
So meditation is when you try to empty your mind. That's why people say that they go through this, like they feel like they're floating and flying, because when you empty your mind, you kind of go into this whole universe. But mindfulness is the exact opposite. You are supposed to focus on your skin, your hairs, the trees, the sounds, like everything. You're supposed to focus on the physical aspect of you and what's surrounding you. So, and meditation is emptying everything. So it's different experiences. Like, it's really different. And I really love mindfulness. I don't like meditation because it's really hard to empty your mind. You
Yeah.
always have something to think about.
I suppose in meditation, it's very difficult to empty your mind when there's so many people around you, or especially nowadays in 2020, there's so many distractions.
Yeah.
Like, you'd say probably 100 years ago, probably a bit easier. But now with all the technology we have, notifications buzzing, your phone buzzing and all that stuff, especially in uni halls, you'd never be able to do it. Especially with people, the how thin the walls are, you'd never be able to get anything done.
Especially
yeah, exactly, with the soundproofing upstairs. I don't know what they're doing, but they're bloody shifting around a fridge by the sound of it. So, okay, and then you had dancing classes. What types of dancing?
They just put on music and you just had to dance and act crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's like sort of getting out your, what would you call it? Like getting out all your stress and stuff like that?
Yeah, like shaking everything out.
Yeah. Yeah. And then gymnastics classes. You good at gymnastics?
Oh no. I'm a robot.
I suppose if you only do a month of it, you're probably not going to be the best. And then you had drawing and therapy sessions. You still do drawing now, right? Don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you learn that, or did you find a passion for that in there, or were you doing it anyway?
Well, I started drawing in there, but then the graffiti part just came later when I made a bunch of friends in my neighborhood that they were all just graffiti the whole
Oh,
town.
right, okay. Did you find that you were sort of quite good at it while you were in there, or did you did you even draw before that?
No.
No.
But I had a friend there. He likes to draw anime characters.
Oh, right, okay.
And he was really good at it. We even had this session of tattoos. So he did my dog in my.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And everyone asked for a tattoo.
So, I mean, all these things sound very creative and physically strenuous sort of things to do. Which again sounds like you're getting your stress out in many different ways. Maybe drawing is a bit less physical than a dancing class, but I suppose if you cover all bases, people get their frustrations out and stresses out in different ways. So it's good that they're doing it in that way. Did you find sort of anything that really, while you were in there, that helped the most?
Maybe just the hanging out with everyone.
Really?
Yeah. And my therapist, because she's really good. I remember this first session that I had with her. She was like, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Oh, I hate everyone. I hate the world. Everyone's selfish. Everyone's awful." And then she asked me, "Well, are you awful? Are you selfish?" And I said, "No, I'm not selfish." And she said, "So you think that you are better than everyone?" And I was like, "I hate this bitch. I never want to see her in my life ever again." So after that session, I asked all the doctors to change therapists.
Really?
That's how much that I got offended by that. But then it just made me switch my brain. Why do I say that I hate everyone? But then it's not the same for me. Although I did hate myself, but I didn't consider myself selfish or anything.
No.
I was kind of putting myself up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never realized that. So just that question that she made me changed everything. So I ended up loving her, and now she's my second mother, my queen.
Your queen. So yeah, you mentioned, of course, there were some scary situations and scary people, but that's okay. We learned how to embrace our past and how to enjoy the moment. How do you begin to even embrace your past? I mean, what did you embrace? I imagine quite a big part was obviously losing your younger sister.
Yeah.
So, did you learn to embrace that as you were there?
It was kind of because my parents, they never believed in depression. They don't believe in anything like that. So I kind of always had this really bad relationship with them because I was suffering and they didn't believe in it. They thought that it was all an act.
Even though they were suffering?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you reckon, why do you reckon they weren't sort of admitting to it? Why do you reckon they weren't sort of saying, yeah, we're sort of in a similar situation to you?
Because maybe they related to it and they were scared.
Yeah, maybe they wanted to appear stronger than yourself. because they wanted to be good parents.
No, it was really bad because, like my father, he turned to alcohol and
Right.
smoking. Like he used to smoke like 5 packs a day.
Right.
It was really bad. And the alcohol, like he used to come home with blood running down his nose of like how much whiskey and shit
Really?
he used to drink, yeah. And so that made him feel a lot of rage and he was really mad. So then he'd come home and I was this emo kid with a lot of feelings. I was like hurting myself too. So we would go into huge physical fights. And I would go into physical fights with my mother too. It was really bad because we were all expressing our anger through fights and screaming and punching each other. And I ended up going to the police and going to the court. So now we have this huge like problem that we have to like solve because now we're good, now we're okay. But you can't really say that to a court. And now
Oh, so it's still ongoing.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's really bad.
So when
But
did you go to court about it?
It was when I was like 17. But no one took me like seriously because I had colored hair and a lot of makeup. So they're like, oh, she's just a kid. Yeah.
Obviously, we won't go too far into details with it because it's sort of still ongoing. But like, you know, that's a mental like. So you're good now with your parents, right?
We are good because at the hospital they had a lot of sessions too with her. It wasn't just me. We had like group sessions and they even have like this parents therapy where every parent like they talk about what it feels like or how it feels like to have their kids in the hospital. So they kind of had therapy too. So after the hospital, like my whole life just changed. It just became a lot better because they started believing in everything.
Yeah.
That's why I say that it's one of the most important things that ever happened to me because it changed everything.
Especially for you. Maybe not even just for you personally as well. I think your relationship with your parents.
And my whole family.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, yeah. How's your brother right now? Is your brother?
He it's so weird because I turned into my video course. I did like a professional video course and I was really good at it. And he's like the exact opposite. He has failed school 3 times. He hates the system. He hates exams. He's like, how the fuck do they know if I'm good at something through a 1-hour exam? Like, he's really angry about the whole like education system. Yeah. So he like shows his anger in a different way. You know, it's really funny to see that he's mad at the world, so he fails school, and but now he's at the same school that I like went to, the professional school, and he's studying sound, which he doesn't like, but he's giving it a try.
Fair enough.
So my brother, like, I don't know how he is, but I know that he hates life too.
Really?
That's why he fails school like every year, and he doesn't go to exams or classes.
Jeez.
But it's such a different way to like express it, you know.
So you also put we would listen to everyone, and that's what's helped the most. Realizing you're not the only one with a messed up head. For me, one of the most important moments was when my parents went to a group therapy session with all the parents who had their children there. My parents never believed me. Since that day, I can tell you that I have different parents. So we sort of talked about that, like sort of how your parents have changed and you've got a better relationship now, even though you've got this thing going on. Like, it's baffling. I mean, sort of, is it awkward being in that situation?
With my parents.
Because you were the one that went forward about it, right? You went forward about the physical sort of, can we call it abuse?
Yeah.
That you received, and now you can't retract what you said because it still happened. You can't say that it didn't happen because it did.
Yeah.
I imagine when you went forward to it, you were very angry, maybe, at your parents, and you wanted them to suffer some sort of consequence. How's that opinion shifted?
Well, because I look at my parents as like little babies now.
Really?
Yeah. because I know that what they did to me, like the fights and the abuse, it was all because they didn't know how to help me, and they didn't know what was wrong with me, and they thought they were just going to lose another child, which is probably really awful because like they already had a dead child and they're going to have another. So like I understand why they used to beat me up, but I did beat them up too. So, and now after the hospital, they know what I was going through, and sometimes still to this day, like after 2 years, they still talk to me about it, and they ask me like, how are you feeling? Do you need like help? They like changed completely. They're like different people now.
That's really good. I suppose, you know, since once, I mean, it's probably therapeutic for them to understand that if they're in a room of people with issues, then it's only going to benefit them by realising that actually they're not alone as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just something for you, it was actually, it helped them. I think the parenting is a really, really important thing because there's a lot of people that will listen to this podcast that maybe will have that disconnect with their parents, which is like, I think one of the worst things in the world. To like have a disconnect from the people that you should be really, really close to.
Yeah.
It's such a heartbreaking thing. You know, and to deal with parents that have their own issues, you know, a lot of those parents, they push those issues away because of their children. But they still don't go away. They're still there.
Yeah.
And I think once you're mature enough and you can have the conversation with them about it, you should. As soon as you realise that something's up, you should definitely have a conversation with them. And even like, you know, if it is that serious, and maybe even though you're the kid and you should never feel like, I think like when you grow up, you should never feel like you should be the adult in the situation. You feel like they should always be the one who's more mature. But like, you know, if you have that outlook on life and you know what the right thing to do is, you should definitely do it. And I know maybe it wasn't completely in your control to get them in and do it, but like you can see how much it's benefited you, like 100%.
Communication is the key.
100%. That's like the message we push all the time. It's like literally talk to anybody. You'll find that most people are there for you.
Yeah.
You know, you could talk to a stranger. Like these therapists. I know they're employed to do what they do. I mean, some people aren't employed. Some people do it for charity work because you know they do. But like you'll find that most people genuinely do care, which is lovely. You also part. Let's go back to here. You said you could actually put, we can talk about how the process they create is made to make you feel grateful again. So yeah, when you came out, you said everything looks and sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So you're sort of locked away. I imagine the only things you sort of, most amount of sort of, I don't know, maybe colour you see or like, probably the most mental thing you see is a cartoon. Do you know what I mean? Like that's like your treat.
Yeah.
When you come out, obviously, how was that? So when can you remember when you first came out?
Yeah, it was my dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's basically because when you go into the hospital, you only have a pair of like pajamas, a bed, and some towels. So like you have nothing. So when you come out, like everything sounds and looks amazing because you finally can like go on walks and put on some cute outfits, and even like the sky or like everything's amazing because you go from having nothing, just a bed, to having everything. Yeah. And for the like first months that I was out of the hospital, I didn't even like acknowledge my phone. And everyone was like mad at me, like, why don't you talk to me? And I'm like, I hate my phone now.
Really? Do you still have that sort of mindset?
No, because TikTok, you see.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I mean actually with the phone thing, sometimes this is from my own experiences. I've taken days off my phone. You realise you actually don't need it as much as you probably do.
Feels really good.
I mean, don't get me wrong, my phone's great. You can use it for so many things. It's such a useful tool, but like, it is nice to have a bit of a break from it because I don't know, they are quite unhealthy for you. And like, I think I had a thing come through this morning. 8 hours of screen time every day.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you know what yours is, or?
It's probably the same. I mean, not
Yeah.
now because my phone is all fucked, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I've probably had it up quite a lot for the podcast, but still not quite good. There's still quite a lot of that where I'm not on the podcast. So, you know, but yeah, it's nice to take a break from certain things. You can definitely get a better appreciation for stuff. So now you said it's been 2 years and you treasure the most simple things in life, and nature is your go-to when you're overwhelmed. Would you recommend that for anybody? Because I probably would. Nature.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a nice, such a nice place to sort of, any park or woodland area is
The air feels so different.
yeah, it is. It is, rather than being, you know, sort of drafted in through aircon. It's a lot better. Do you feel at one with nature now? I know you definitely have a connection with nature from your short film, which you showed us. But like, how important is nature to you right now?
It's like the most important thing because, like my whole life, when I felt like sad or anxious, I would just go on a train, 10 minutes. I'd arrive at like Sintra, which is my favorite place in Portugal. It's just like this huge forest full of like gardens, and it's a small town with castles. So it's just like really magical. And I would just walk the whole day and not feel safe. And they have like this, my favorite like witchy store with crystals and incense, and it's just so magical. Like every problem that you have just disappears.
You're quite into sort of your incense and stuff like that, aren't you? Do you have those, what are they called, cards? What are they?
Tarot cards.
Tarot cards. You've been learning that, which
I have.
baffles my mind. Not because of like the way you did it, but like genuinely like, I mean, that's a big book, right?
It is a huge.
Have you been reading all of that?
I've been reading the meanings of the cards, but it will take years because it's like 80 cards.
Can you describe what that is? I mean, maybe we're going a bit off topic, but like I'm still quite interested. So.
Like, okay, so every card has like a meaning. You have the Fool, the Lovers, the Magician. You have like a bunch of cards, and every card has like symbols like air, water, the sun, and literally like everything. Even the dress that someone might have has a meaning. So it's basically when you have a deck and you shuffle it, a few cards like come out, and you read those cards, and that's like what the universe wants you to know, or like your next step. For example, if you're like in a relationship and you ask me, let's do a tarot reading, and like it comes the card like the Lovers, I'll tell you that everything's going to be like fine for now, just keep going as you keep going, you know. But if a bad card would come up, I'd say something's wrong, more communication, you know. It's really cool.
I suppose, like, I mean, that is quite a, what do you call, spiritual thing? Or, you said earlier about talking about everything happens for a reason. With obviously what happened with your brother on Christmas and stuff like that. Like, you know, I'm not surprised that you are sort of, you have got that mindset and are quite a spiritual person, especially with what you've been through and your connection with nature. And yeah, it seems like it's really not only just benefited you, but your family and everything like that.
We are all like really spiritual, at least like with energies and stuff. Like once, me and my mother, we went to this birthday party, and the air, like the atmosphere was so heavy. Like we were like, no, these people are bad. Because as soon as you walk into like the living room, you just felt
really
sick. Yeah.
What air are you getting right now?
I'm really comfortable.
Oh right, okay, cool. I wanted to make
fine.
sure. It was like it's like really heavy. I'm like, oh no, I need to go out. Oh, no, but yeah.
We all kind of believe in stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably feel it too when you like meet someone and you don't like them at first.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Something
you get a vibe, don't you? Quite. It's funny. Humans make these like instant thoughts. I mean, sometimes they're quite dangerous because
that is being spiritual.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's being spiritual and then sometimes being a bit too judging a book by its cover sort of thing. I've done that too many times. I sometimes I think I'm a bit too judgmental. I know I am 100%. That'll be my 2021 resolution.
Open-minded.
Just to be more open-minded, I think.
That's a good thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, this year's been a whole eye-opener for me. Oh, you know what? We'll talk about that in the next one, which is. Oh, hang on, it might be the one before this at this point. Oh no.
Yeah, the year review is coming before this.
Yeah, right. We're going to do a year review, which will have been last week's, but I won't have filmed yet, so I'm going to confuse everybody. But basically, I'm doing a year in review, and that's coming out soon. Soon. Oh, I think not Christmas Day. Not Christmas Day. It's too depressing for Christmas Day.
Friday. No, you said January 1st.
January the 1st. That's it. January the 1st, which is a Friday, and then this will be coming on January the 8th. So yeah. But yeah. Have you got any resolutions? I mean, we're approaching that time now. So, have you got any resolutions for next year?
Next year, well, maybe just start believing in myself more, because I'm always like, no one wants you here. Everyone around you hates you, and I'm always asking the wholesome house, my flatmates, do you guys really love me? Like I always need reassurance. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So I went like next year I want to ask that question like a little bit less.
Yeah.
I know that they like me. I don't have to be like always asking them. So yeah, let's see.
I can relate to that, you know. I can relate to that because maybe it's not the fact that I'm not asking people if I like me, but like maybe I'll have to create something to gain someone's sort of appreciation or like something like that, or like know that I can create good work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'll have to create as much because maybe that isn't as good. Maybe I create so much that actually I'm doing quality over quantity.
Did you feel pressure?
Quantity over quality. Sorry. Yeah, maybe, but like maybe it's all right to focus on things a little bit more slowly. I'm a bit of a when I think of something, I have to do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
it might go well, you know. But
yeah,
if
I think
you feel pressured, your creativity won't be as good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I've always got ideas buzzing in my head, but if I can try to slow that down for next year, be a bit calmer, then hopefully, you know, that'd be nice, I think. So wrapping it up with your story, because that's what we've covered today. You know, it's been a long time coming. I'm so glad we have talked about it. I think it's quite interesting. Your relationship with your parents is still like it's. You've gone through a pretty tough time. Do you see your parents, or are you going to see your parents at Christmas? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you reckon they'll see this podcast or not?
If I tell them about it.
If you tell them about it, do you reckon you will?
Yeah.
Okay. But like, you know, you're quite open about it, and I really sort of admire that. It's very brave what you've done today, 100%. Sorry, that sounds so patronising, doesn't it? It sounds so patronising. But it is really incredibly brave, the thing that you've done today. Like, it takes a lot of guts to open up about something like this, and to be as open as you have been. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that will listen to this, that will sort of realise that, you know, depression, you can deal with it, and there's so many different ways to deal with it. You've discussed all the different things that you did, and yeah, like all these little things you can do, like take time away from your phone and stuff like that. It helps.
Yeah.
And I think, like, yeah, definitely, like we were sort of talking about, is it like the little things sort of add up to, like, you know, for a newfound appreciation for something. I mean, you're doing a film course. Is that sort of what inspired you to do film? Is it any way related, or?
Well, yeah. First, I think that every time I go to the cinema and I watch like a movie, I always cry because I'm like, I love this shit. I love movies. I love the way they make you feel, and I've always created such strong relationships with the characters. Like, my favorite movie is called The Book Tea. Every time I just look at their faces, I cry.
Really?
Because I love the movie so much and I love the book. So I've always wanted to communicate that way too. With colors and angles and
Yeah.
everything in a movie is so important.
They are really powerful devices of sort of showing, these telling stories.
Yeah.
In fact, well, I'm obviously going to be biased, but I think it is the best medium to showcase the best type of art. It's got everything in it. Do you know what I mean? A film is like a culmination of like everything, like image, sound, all these things together. So it's like the ultimate sort of thing, isn't it? And sort of you can translate so much of it. That's why there's so many. Like you can watch a film that isn't in your language, but still have a deep connection with it. It's great. So yeah, I won't suck off my own course too much, because I'm not here to do that. But yeah, I think that's a nice way to sort of end it. Are you optimistic for your next year, 2021?
Yeah, I'm optimistic.
I think we all have to be, to be honest, with the way this year's gone. But
no, I want to start. I want to get a job, get my money, build my van, and go into
build
the
your van.
mountains.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you want to discuss the van dream?
Oh, my
real
van
quick?
dream.
Yeah.
It's my only goal in life. I just like having a house.
I hope it isn't. I hope you've got other goals. I'm not saying it's tragic, but like, it's not tragic at all.
I don't
But
know.
like, I think you should like, come on, you can't have
It's
that
perfect.
as a
Wait,
one
wait,
goal.
Think about it.
Because it's too
OnlyFans
achievable.
And a van.
It's what?
OnlyFans and a van.
Oh, right.
And a dog.
Do you wanna-
Sorry,
Hang on.
that's the most Madalena sentence I've ever heard.
Yeah. Madalena, so you said you only goals you've got are OnlyFans, your van,
And a dog.
and getting a
My
dog.
dog and another dog.
Oh right, okay.
No, because like having a house for me, like having a house stuck in a place, and you have the same routine every single day. You wake up, you go to work, you come back.
Yeah.
It's always the same place, always the same house. I swear to God, I'm not having that ever in my life.
I was going to say, do you want to promote anything? And if you have got an OnlyFans, we could. But I don't think not yet. Not yet.
No, it's just because I want to find a job that I can do while being in my van. So I can be an editor, I can be like a writer, like a job that doesn't make me like live in the same place for 10 years.
So quite freelance then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's quite intelligent. Yeah, and you can do it with freelance. You can do anything you want. You can pick and choose usually.
Like I don't mind living in the same place for like 3 years, but my whole life it's kind of scary to me.
You'd want to live in the van.
If I imagine I'm like in a movie set, and that movie will take like 3 years to be filmed and edited, like I might rent a house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd always have my van with me. It's so boring to live in the same place for like 50 years.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, people
Why would
do
you
it. A
ever
lot of
want
people
that?
do it though. A lot of people do it
It's
because
boring.
they get attached to little places. But yeah, I think you've got to travel. You got to see the world. There's too many things there to see, not to.
I just hate having a routine.
Yeah.
The same thing every single day. Kind of like because my parents have that.
I think if you see different things, you gain a more appreciation for everything around you. If you're seeing the same things every day, like if you're going to an office job every single day, you're not going to have as much appreciation as someone who's travelling around the world. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what my mother does. She works in an office. Like, she hates everything about her life besides
Right.
like her kids and stuff.
Mm. And your dog. And your dog, I'd hope.
Yeah.
Is your dog doing all right?
I think he's better now. He stopped being in my bed.
Oh, that's always good. Have you seen him on FaceTime or?
Yeah, but he doesn't recognize my voice. I think it's
That happens the same with my dog. Although he does recognise it when I say biscuit. Do you want a biscuit?
Oh,
And as soon as he hears that, his ears pick up. And parents hate it
I have
because
to
the
try
only
that.
thing. It's the only thing that sort of he recognises, because obviously if he hears it anywhere, he's going to be like. So that's why I do it, because it's the only thing that I can gain a reaction from him. So I apologise to my parents. If I come back and he's like the size of a pig, like a micro pig, because he's only a small dog. He's like a bloody King Charles Spaniel, but bless him. Shout out to dogs everywhere. And also, appropriate time to say it, dogs aren't for Christmas. If you get a dog for Christmas, you can fuck off.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the podcast. So that's a nice message to end on. You know, we've talked about it, but genuinely, if you get a dog for Christmas, like dogs aren't for Christmas, fuck off. Dogs are for life. Yeah. I honestly, do you want to plug anything? You haven't got your OnlyFans. Basically, donate to Dogs Trust and adopt.
Yeah.
Adopt is a good one.
Yeah, never buy a dog. Yeah.
Well, I bought a dog, but it's from a
There
family
you go.
friend. Family
Okay.
friend.
Still,
Yeah, I know.
it's fine.
I've outed myself. Was yours bought or was yours?
No, it was just a baby that. The neighborhood dog. I told you about him.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh well, you sort of. Yeah, it was gonna happen anyway.
This is mine now.
Yeah, fair enough. You snatched it up.
Yeah. He was
Um,
like the ugliest. He was just like a little ball. That's always what I go for, the ugliest. And now he's so pretty.
that's what you always go for.
Oh no! Oh my god, no!
And on that note,
In dogs.
in dogs.
Because
Yeah,
you know-
sure,
That
no,
sure.
context doesn't exist. Go on.
Sure,
No,
sure.
because if you go to like a pet shop, you always want the prettiest one. That's what people do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they do. That's the thing. Like the little ugliest one gets picked last.
Yeah, but that's what I like to do. I like to have it. Oh my god, stop.
Right, we're gonna end
I
this
feel
podcast
bad
because we
now.
have to. Otherwise, we're gonna keep digging. All right. Thank you for coming on, Madalena. It's been lovely having you. And yeah, well, Happy New Year. A bit late because it'll be the 8th when you see this, but Happy New Year. Hopefully you're sticking to your resolutions. And yeah, again, thank you for coming on. And I will see you all next week. Will it be next week? Hopefully, maybe. Well,
Okay.
potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially, I'll see you next week. And adopt. See you later.
That's it. Is that good? Yeah. Okay. So, thanks.